Welcome back to another episode in our series on internal communication strategies. I'm Yogesh, and today we're diving deep into a foundational concept that impacts every layer of an organization, building a culture of communication.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lily, and I couldn't be more excited about this episode. Culture isn't just about posters in the break room or values written on the wall. It's lived every day through how people talk to each other, share ideas, solve conflicts, and collaborate.
Absolutely, Lily. And when we talk about a culture of communication, we're referring to an environment where transparency, openness, feedback, and dialogue are not exceptions. They're the norm.
Right, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes leadership commitment, consistent behavior, and systems that reinforce communication habits. Let's start by defining what a strong communication culture looks like in practice.
Sure. At its core, a strong communication culture means that employees feel psychologically safe to speak up, raise concerns, offer feedback, and contribute ideas. It's a place where listening is just as important as talking.
And it's where cross-functional communication thrives. People don't operate in silos. Information flows horizontally and vertically. Employees at every level have clarity and context.
One of the best ways to visualize it is to think of communication as the central nervous system of your organization. If it's blocked or malfunctioning, the whole system suffers.
Exactly. So let's look at the pillars of building this kind of culture. I'd say we start with leadership modeling.
That's key. Leaders need to walk the talk. If leaders are transparent, open to feedback, and actively listen, it sets the tone. You can't ask your team to be communicative if leadership is guarded or inconsistent.
And this includes being honest about challenges. A leader saying, "We don't have all the answers, but here's what we're exploring," goes a long way in fostering trust.
Another pillar is systematic communication practices, like regular town halls, newsletters, feedback loops, and one-on-one check-ins. Without structure, good intentions fall apart.
Absolutely. A culture doesn't just exist in words, it's built through repeatable behaviors. When managers schedule weekly team huddles or recognition circles, they're embedding communication into the daily rhythm.
Let's not forget recognition and celebration as a part of culture. Acknowledging people for being communicative, collaborative, or transparent reinforces those values.
And this works peer-to-peer too. When employees are empowered to appreciate each other, it creates a more inclusive and participatory culture.
One of my favorite tools for this is a communication champions program, where individuals across levels are nominated or selected to promote open dialogue and feedback within their teams.
I love that. It also reduces the top-down bottleneck and creates a more distributed ownership of communication. So let's shift gears to talk about barriers to a communication culture.
Good call. Fear is a big one. Fear of retribution, of not being taken seriously, or of being seen as disruptive. That's why psychological safety must be prioritized.
Another barrier is overload. If people are drowning in emails, meetings, and Slack messages, it can create fatigue and disengagement, even if the intent is to improve communication.
That's where clarity and curation come in. Part of the culture should be about what not to communicate, prioritizing meaningful messages and channels.
Totally agree. And we have to remember that communication preferences vary. Some people thrive in live discussions, others prefer asynchronous tools. A culture of communication is inclusive of different styles.
That's so true. That's why it helps to audit your internal communication tools, what's being used, what's ignored, and what's duplicated. Culture also suffers when tools become chaotic.
All right, before we wrap up, let's share a few actionable strategies for building a culture of communication.
Great idea. First, start with the communication culture audit. Ask what's working, where are the gaps? Get feedback from employees directly through surveys, interviews, or post checks.
Second, establish communication rituals. That could be monthly AMAs with leadership, shout-out Fridays, or storytelling sessions where teams share project learnings.
Third, build feedback into every layer. Performance reviews, project retros, even customer interactions. Make feedback less about judgment and more about growth.
And finally, invest in communication training, not just for leaders, but for everyone. Help people get better at listening, empathizing, resolving conflict, and presenting ideas clearly.
Thank you, Lily. And to our listeners, communication culture is what transforms internal strategies from documents into daily experiences. If you found this episode of Corporate Communication useful, don't forget to join leadershipacademy.tagbizsutra. Do share it with your friends and colleagues, and leave your review. Until next time, keep talking, keep listening, and keep shaping a culture where communication thrives.